spent a lot of time on Trump, but it has been a rough week.
It's been 9 fucking days.
It's been a rough week, so we got to spend a little time here talking about this stuff. This is brand new fresh hell. Let me play this clip.
Yeah.
So we can play this clip. I think it's in here. Let me double check. There's a Hannity clip in here. There it is. Let me put this on the big screen, and then we'll play it. So this idea here is what we're going to watch is a little piece of Hannity. And this is Trump who's complaining about FEMA, and he's complaining about how hard it is to rebuild after devastation. And he's very specifically trying to pit two parts of the country that just had disasters. One is Los Angeles and the other is North Carolina. And so what he's doing is he's trying to pit those two against each other, as one is a good place that needs aid and one isn't. And at the end, he will eventually conclude, it sounds like, that he just wants to get rid of FEMA. So here's Trump talking about, it's only about a minute long.
I will say that Los Angeles has changed everything, because a lot of money is going to be necessary for Los Angeles. And a lot of people on the other side want that to happen. And
North Carolina, too.
Fast. Well, they don't care about North Carolina. The Democrats don't care about North Carolina. What they've done with FEMA is so bad. FEMA is a whole nother discussion, because all it does is complicate everything. FEMA has not done their job for the last 4 years. I had FEMA working really well. We had hurricanes in Florida. We had Alabama, tornadoes. But unless you have certain types of leadership, it gets in the way. And FEMA is going to be a whole big discussion very shortly, because I'd rather see the states take care of their own problems. If they have a tornado someplace, and let that state. Oklahoma is very competent. I love Oklahoma. 77 out of 77 districts. And that's never been done before.
Okay. So he has to end with, I won there by a lot. He has to make sure to say that.
So it's funny. I heard this same clip on another show that I listened to, and they fact checked some of this. He did not win 77 out of 77 districts. That's just not a thing. Like, it's just like, no, you didn't, man. No, you just didn't. Like, that's just, it's never been done before. Yeah, it's just a straight up, like, untrue thing. And, like, Oklahoma is a weird state to point to and be like, well, we use Oklahoma as an example of a state that's too. Oklahoma is one of the worst states in this country by almost every measure that we measure states by.
I also want to point out, too, I realize, and I live in a tornado place. Tornadoes are a different thing than a hurricane or a fire.
Yes, they're smaller.
They're smaller.
Way smaller, man.
They can be big. I'm not saying that you can't
but they
have
can't be
large,
hurricane big.
I know, but you can't. I'm saying, like, you can have a lot of devastation.
Yes, yeah.
And you can have multiple tornadoes. We've seen that too, right? So I'm not saying it's nothing. So please don't send me a message and be like, whoa, you've never been. I've been through plenty of tornadoes in my life. I was in the mall when the Plainfield tornado hit. I was literally 4 blocks away. We had to fucking crawl underneath in JCPenney under clothes. So don't tell me I've never been in a tornado. I've been in a lot of tornadoes in my life, real devastating ones. So I know the damage. But there is nothing like a hurricane.
No.
There is nothing like these wildfires.
Right.
Those two things are so amazingly different. Sometimes even earthquake damage can be hyper localized in comparison to some of the damage that happens with some of these giant full state wildfires, and then like an entire state gets washed out by a hurricane. So they're in a different. You're comparing apples to oranges.
Yeah, it's a matter of scale.
Yeah,
it's just a matter of scale. Like, I'm not saying that. Like, I want to be clear. Like, so people don't. When a tornado comes by, if you're in the path of that tornado, it can be total devastation.
It could be the total devastation.
100%. But they're not as big as hurricanes. They're just not as big by volume. They don't have both wind and flooding damage typically. The idea that we're going to just leave that up to the states. Again, do I get my money back? No. You don't get your money back. None of us are getting our money back. So FEMA does a great job. I love how in this clip, he's like, yeah, when I ran FEMA was great. They really helped a lot of people. But the solution now that I'm in charge again is to not help anybody. If you think FEMA was mismanaged for the last 4 years, why wouldn't you say, we're going to get FEMA whipped up in a good shape like it was when I was in charge before? Why wouldn't that be your plan? Instead, your plan is, hey, we're just going to let every state handle their own business. And that's going to be it. The reason to do that is because it's in California now. And he's got a grudge against Gavin Newsom, and he always has. This is a personal vengeance against a blue state that has thwarted him at several turns. He's going to let people suffer so that he can sneer.
Yeah.
That's what he's going to do.
You're not wrong. I think that there's a real problem here because he has two options. He can kill FEMA like he's suggesting. Kill FEMA completely or dismantle it to the point where it's not giving out any real aid, right?
Right.
So he could do that. And if he does that, then he's hurting not just blue states, he's hurting red states. And there's more red states than there are blue states.
And there's more red states in the hurricane zone, man.
There's more red states that get more major natural disasters than blue states. So he's going to fuck up and really alienate a bunch of people who aren't going to be able to get help when the next big disaster happens. Because trust me, Trump himself is a disaster, so the disasters will continue. Guaranteed, we will see hurricanes aplenty this year. We're going to see plenty of opportunity for that to continue, and it's not going to get any better under Trump. Trust me on that. There's going to be more global warming, and it's going to be all gas, no brakes for about 4 years. So enjoy a higher chance of those storms and those problems like we saw in California happen. Those things can happen. So he's going to hurt red states more than blue states. If he decides to withhold only from California, then he's going to get taken to court.
He's going to get taken to court for sure.
And it's either going to wind up with you pay them the money, shut the fuck up. We're a country. That's how this works. Or they're going to side with him, and then that would mean that would be the end of FEMA.
Right. And, the thing is, like
it's a bad situation.
It's a terrible,
because he's a terrible leader.
He's a terrible fucking person. And I think he is going to eat a lot of shit on this because remember that when FEMA shows up and they help, they get no credit. But if they don't show up, he will get blame.
George Bush ate so much shit when FEMA didn't show up fast enough.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong. I mean, he fucked that up so bad.
Yeah, he did a terrible job.
Brownie, you're doing a hell of a job, Brownie.
Yep.
That guy fucked up Katrina so fucking bad. People dying, no fucking supplies getting in. It was flooded. They didn't know what to do. George Bush is fucking can't find his ass with two hands. Like that was a fucking disaster of a president.
Terrible.
And he fucked that up royally. If there's one Katrina on his, that would be a blessing because Katrinas are a normal thing now.
Yeah.
So expect a horror under Trump if he decides to withhold this sort of stuff. Expect a horror.
Do you know what scares me the most, Cecil? Is another Hurricane Maria type event that destroys Puerto Rico. And I don't think Trump considers Puerto Rico a proper part of America that he's responsible for. I mean, if he doesn't consider California